You know that feeling when you sit down to work on something important and within minutes, you're scrolling through your phone? When Netflix somehow becomes more appealing than that project you've been putting off for weeks, you're not weak. Your brain has been hijacked. Right now, millions of people are trapped in what I call the dopamine prison. It's invisible, it's comfortable, and it's slowly stealing your life. Today, we're going to talk about something that might save you from wasting another year of your potential. This isn't about willpower or motivation. This is about understanding how your brain really works and why it keeps choosing the easy path over the meaningful one. Let me paint you a picture. Your brain runs on a chemical called dopamine. Think of it as your internal reward system, like having a personal coach who gives you high fives every time you do something your brain thinks is beneficial for survival. The problem? This system evolved millions of years ago when our biggest concerns were finding food and avoiding predators. Back then, a burst of sweet fruit or successfully hunting down dinner deserved a massive dopamine celebration. Fast forward to today, and we've created a world that hijacks this ancient system. Every notification, every swipe, every click delivers tiny hits of dopamine without any real effort or accomplishment. It's like having a dealer on every street corner, except the drug is everywhere and it's completely legal. Your brain can't tell the difference between scrolling through TikTok and achieving something meaningful. To your ancient reward system, both feel like wins. But here's the cruel irony. The more you feed this system with easy dopamine, the harder it becomes to feel satisfied by anything that requires real effort. You've essentially turned down the volume on your brain's ability to enjoy the things that actually matter. This is why reading a book feels impossible after hours of scrolling. Why sitting in silence feels uncomfortable. Why starting that project feels like climbing Mount Everest. Your dopamine receptors have been numbed by constant stimulation. The good news? This process is reversible. But first, you need to understand just how deep this rabbit hole goes. There are 4 main categories that are slowly rewiring your brain for instant gratification, and most people don't even realize they're being manipulated. First is what I call binge tech. Social media, streaming services, video games, news feeds, YouTube rabbit holes. These platforms are designed by teams of neuroscientists and behavioral psychologists whose only job is to keep you engaged. They've perfected the art of variable reward schedules. You never know when you'll get that perfect video, that hilarious meme, that piece of content that gives you a dopamine spike. It's digital gambling, and your attention is the currency. Second is what I'll delicately call unhealthy sexual content. Pornography, dating apps, even the endless pursuit of romantic validation online. Your brain releases more dopamine in anticipation of sex than during the actual act. So just swiping on dating apps or browsing certain websites floods your system with pleasure chemicals. The pursuit becomes more addictive than the outcome. Third are consumables. Alcohol, recreational drugs, junk food, impulse purchases. These give immediate chemical rewards with zero effort required. Your brain loves this trade-off, but it comes at a cost to your ability to appreciate delayed gratification. Fourth is thrill-seeking behavior. Gambling, extreme sports, risky financial decisions, drama-filled relationships. These create massive dopamine spikes through uncertainty and adrenaline. The problem isn't that these things exist. The problem is when they become your brain's primary source of stimulation. When you need constant hits of easy dopamine just to feel normal, this is when you know you're trapped in the dopamine prison. Here's what nobody talks about when they discuss dopamine addiction. It's not just that you can't focus. It's that you lose the ability to find joy in simple, meaningful activities. You lose your tolerance for discomfort, which is where all growth happens. You lose your connection to yourself because you're constantly reaching for external stimulation. I watched a friend spend an entire semester failing his classes because he couldn't resist a Tinder notification. I've seen people choose scrolling over sleep, over exercise, over real conversations with people they love. This isn't about moral weakness. This is about a fundamental mismatch between your ancient brain and the modern world. Your dopamine system was designed to motivate you toward behaviors that ensured survival and reproduction. Finding food, building shelter, forming social bonds. Today, you can get those same chemical rewards by sitting motionless and staring at a screen. But while your brain thinks it's winning, your life is standing still. The hidden cost is opportunity. Every minute spent in easy dopamine is a minute not spent building something meaningful, not developing skills, not forming real connections, not pursuing goals that would actually improve your life. You're essentially choosing temporary pleasure over permanent progress. And the cruelest part? The more you choose easy dopamine, the less satisfying it becomes. You need bigger hits, longer sessions, more extreme content, just to feel the same level of satisfaction. Meanwhile, the gap between where you are and where you want to be keeps growing wider. This is why people feel stuck. This is why dreams get abandoned. This is why potential goes unrealized. Let me explain what's actually happening in your brain when you're constantly stimulated. Think of dopamine receptors like volume controls on a speaker system. When you consistently blast your brain with high-intensity dopamine from easy sources, your brain does something protective. It turns down the volume. This process is called receptor downregulation, and it's your brain's attempt to maintain balance. Imagine you're at a concert where the music is so loud it would damage your hearing. You'd cover your ears or move away from the speakers. Your brain does something similar with dopamine. When there's too much of it flooding your system, your cells literally reduce the number of receptors available to receive it. They also decrease their sensitivity to dopamine signals. This means you need more and more stimulation to feel the same level of satisfaction. It's like drug tolerance, except it's happening with everyday activities. What used to give you pleasure now feels boring or unsatisfying. This is why nothing feels exciting anymore, why you can't sit through a movie without checking your phone, why reading feels impossible, why conversation feels boring unless it's incredibly stimulating. Your brain has essentially turned down its ability to appreciate subtlety, nuance, and gradual rewards. The beautiful thing is that this process works in reverse too. When you reduce the intensity and frequency of dopamine stimulation, your brain gradually increases receptor sensitivity again. It turns the volume back up. This is why people who do dopamine detoxes report that simple things become enjoyable again. Food tastes better. Conversations become more engaging. Nature becomes more beautiful. Books become captivating. Your brain remembers how to appreciate the subtle pleasures that make life worth living. Before you can break free from the dopamine prison, you need a clear plan. Most people fail because they try to change everything at once without preparation. They treat it like a challenge instead of a transformation. The first step is finding your personal why. Not some generic motivation, but a deep, honest look at what this pattern is costing you. What dreams have you put on hold? What relationships have suffered? What version of yourself are you not becoming because you're stuck in easy dopamine loops? Write this down. Make it specific, make it personal. Because when the discomfort comes, and it will come, you need to remember why you started this journey. Next, you need to identify your specific dopamine sources. Everyone's different. Maybe you're addicted to Instagram but never watch TV. Maybe you can handle social media but can't resist video games. Be honest about what actually hooks you. There's no shame in admitting you're human and susceptible to things designed to be addictive. The shame is in pretending you're not affected while your life stays stuck. Then decide on your timeline. I recommend starting with 7 days minimum. This isn't arbitrary. Your brain needs at least a week to begin the receptor regulation process. Some people benefit from longer periods, but 7 days is enough to experience significant changes in how you feel and what you find satisfying. Finally, prepare your environment. Delete apps. Install website blockers. Remove temptations from your immediate environment. I don't care how much willpower you think you have. Environmental design beats willpower every time. Make the right choices easier and the wrong choices harder. Set yourself up to succeed, not to test your self-control. Here's what nobody tells you about dopamine detox. You're going to feel weird. Not just bored, but genuinely uncomfortable in ways you haven't experienced in years. You'll feel anxious without your phone, restless without background entertainment, lonely with your own thoughts. This isn't failure. This is success. Every moment of discomfort is your brain beginning to reset. Think of boredom as the space between overstimulation and balance. It's not permanent, but it is necessary. Instead of running from these feelings, learn to sit with them. This is where the real work happens. During this phase, you need to replace destructive dopamine sources with constructive ones. Your brain still needs dopamine to function, but you want it to come from activities that actually improve your life. 3 daily practices will anchor your reset. First is self-reflection. 10 minutes minimum of meditation, journaling, or simply sitting with your thoughts. This isn't about solving all your problems or having profound insights. It's about reconnecting with yourself without external stimulation. Most people live their entire lives without spending 10 consecutive minutes alone with their thoughts. This practice will change how you relate to yourself and your goals. Second is movement. 30 minutes of physical activity. Walking, yoga, lifting weights, dancing in your living room. Exercise naturally releases dopamine in a healthy, sustainable way. It also improves your mood, increases your energy, and gives you a sense of accomplishment. Third is human connection. One real conversation per day with another person. Not texting, not social media interaction, but actual voice-to-voice or face-to-face communication. Humans are social creatures, and meaningful connection releases powerful neurochemicals that support well-being and motivation. After 7 days, something interesting happens. You don't just return to your baseline. You become stronger than before. This is what researchers call anti-fragility. Instead of just bouncing back from the stress of dopamine withdrawal, you develop a higher tolerance for discomfort and a greater appreciation for meaningful activities. The restoration phase is where you decide who you want to be going forward. This isn't about never using technology again or living like a monk. It's about becoming intentional with how you consume dopamine. Before reintroducing anything into your life, ask yourself 3 questions. First, does this align with my values and goals? Second, does this help me become the person I want to be? Third, can I use this in a controlled, purposeful way? Or does it tend to control me? Some things you'll choose to leave behind permanently. Others you'll reintroduce with strict boundaries. For example, you might decide to use social media only for professional networking, or only for 10 minutes per day, or only on weekends. The key is intentionality. You're no longer a passive consumer of whatever dopamine hits come your way. You're an active curator of your mental environment. This process makes you anti-fragile because each time you go through it, you become more aware of your patterns, more skilled at managing your attention, and more confident in your ability to choose discomfort when it serves your long-term interests. You develop what I call dopamine wisdom, the ability to distinguish between pleasure that serves you and pleasure that enslaves you, between satisfaction that builds your life and satisfaction that distracts from it. This wisdom becomes a superpower in a world designed to capture and monetize your attention.